Today we're going to be starting a new series called Joyful. How many people are full of joy in the room? All right. Now, I'm under the impression that church should be fun. I grew up in kids ministry. We did a part in kids ministry where it was like, let's make sure that all of the adults can hear us. And so we screamed at the top of our lungs, have fun in church, right? Come on now, that's kind of like, it should be a rule that we know how to have fun in church, that we have the joy of the Lord. Come on now, church. And we have a world that's full of heaviness. We have a world that's full of packed schedules. How many people have a packed schedule in your life? You're like running on the hamster wheel of life, right? And sometimes you got to get off the hamster wheel and do a little dance party and celebrate, right? And say, you know what, God, we worked hard today, but guess what? We're going to enjoy some good food. We're going to enjoy laughter and fun. I believe that fun and joy is medicine for the soul, right? You know, we are in an epidemic, right, of stress and people that are constantly uptight and busy. And we need some medicine for the soul, and that, I believe, is joy. Ecclesiastes 8:15, Solomon writes this. He says, so I recommend what? I recommend having fun. Like, you can't make that up. That's in the Bible, by the way. Right? So if you're like, I don't know if fun's in the Bible. No, Solomon says, I recommend what? Having fun. Because there is nothing better. Everybody say nothing better. There's nothing better for people in this world than to eat, drink, and enjoy life. Nothing better. I mean, I didn't put that in the Bible. Let me just tell you. It's in there. Look at your neighbor and say, there's nothing better. There's nothing better than having fun. That way, we will experience some happiness along with the hard work. How many people have some hard work? Right? But you got to mix in some fun. Right? How many people on Monday morning are like the fun people? Like, it's Monday, let's go. We got to change the atmosphere. Some people are like, it's Monday. And then there's other people who are like, it's Monday, right? Come on now. We need to mix in the fun with our hard work. God gives all these things under the sun. Let me just tell you that there's nothing better for your family. There's nothing better for your marriage. There's nothing better for your family, your workplace, right? Parents, there's nothing better than for them to see you having fun, right? That it breaks the stress. It has, there's nothing better than having fun at the dinner table. You know, we live in this society where we don't even eat dinner together. Solomon says there's nothing better than to eat, drink, and enjoy life, right? There's nothing better than a good dessert. Come on now. Let's go. Some people are gaining a little bit more, I think like Halloween is like the bad time where everything from Halloween to like January is just like dessert, bring it on, every meal, right? I think there's a lot of people that come into church and they feel like, hey, church should be reverent. And church should be like, we got to, be quiet and be holy before God because he's holy. But I serve a God that says, you know what? He had fun, right? We serve a God that recommends having fun. And I believe it's a witness to other people too, right? It's a witness that we are following Jesus when we're having fun at church, right? We just went on vacation, and it was fun, right? And I believe that a lot of people are like, man, if I could just make it to that vacation, then I can have fun at that vacation, right? I'm not talking about vacation. We all have fun on vacation, but we need to have fun in between vacations, right? Solomon says, along with the other things that we're doing, not just, on vacation, but along with, while we're going, while we're in the car, get that dance playlist going, right? While we're at church, right? In our marriages, along with the things that we're doing, right? In the mundane things at the dinner table. Today, the title of my message is Filled with Joy. Everybody say filled. Filled with joy, right? I have a kind of a cup that's half filled, right? I'm not going to debate with all you pessimists in the room if it's half full or half empty. But a lot of people in life feel like, man, I'm half full, right? Here's the source of getting filled up is we got Jesus, right? And he's constantly filling us up. right? We here at One Life like to talk about how we need to love out of the overflow, right? That if we aren't constantly getting filled up, right? People are draining us, right? Emails constantly taking away our joy, right? That drive line, all you parents, there's nothing better than starting your day at drive line, right? There's nothing better than all these things, right? That just constantly are stealing our joy. We got to keep getting Jesus. I love the graphic. Anybody notice that the joy is filling up the word full, right? Yeah, right? That we got to get constantly filled up. Scrolling social media. Let me just say that that's not fun, by the way. That's definitely not fun for everybody else in your house. It's just watching you look like a vegetable, right? Some of you you relieve stress with social media. No, you need to relieve stress by having fun with those around you, by enjoying, by putting your phones in a different room while you eat dinner together, you enjoy good food, and you have fun, right? Psalms 28:7 says that the Lord is our strength and our shield. The Lord is our strength and our shield. I trust him with all my heart. He helps me with my heart being filled with joy. Again, it doesn't say filled with love. It doesn't say filled with peace. It doesn't say it says filled with joy. Come on now, look at your neighbor and say, let's get filled up with joy. And what does it say? It says that I burst out in songs of thanksgiving. I think of like a Disney princess, like bursting out in songs of joy, right? And some of you are like, man, this guy is way too excited. No, I'm just reading the Bible, by the way. We should be bursting out with thanksgiving because we have the power of Jesus inside of us, that we have the presence of Jesus inside of us. When we come to church, we're pouring out our praise because we're filled up with praise. When we give of our resources, of our finances, the Bible talks about giving out of a joyful hearts. Not because we have a lot, but because we're choosing joy even. Today I'm going to be talking about Isaiah, right? Isaiah 61. If you have a Bible, get it out. Here at One Life, we love to open up the real Bible. So go under your chair, grab a physical Bible. We're on page 616 today. We're going to be talking about Isaiah 61. This particular verse is well known because Jesus actually quotes Isaiah 61, and he quotes the fulfillment of it. But this particular verse is a prophecy, right? Sometimes what is prophecy? It's speaking something that doesn't exist into existence, right? So Isaiah is a prophet. Everybody actually doesn't like Isaiah, right? Because he's kind of like the bearer of bad news. All the Old Testament prophets are like the bearers of bad news, right? But this particular prophecy and all over Isaiah talks about a Messiah that's coming. And he's going to come to change the situation. He's going to come to fix the situation. So we're in Isaiah 61, verse 1, page 616. If you have isn't that funny? We're on 61, 616. All right, there we go. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, for the Lord has anointed me to bring bad news to his people. Right? No. He's anointed me to bring what? Good news. He has sent me to comfort the brokenhearted. And to proclaim the captives that will be released and the prisoners that will be freed. Verse 2 says, He sent me to those who are mourn, that the time of the Lord's favor has come, and with it, the day of God's anger against his enemies. To all who mourn in Israel, he will give a crown of beauty for ashes, a joyous blessing instead of mourning, festive praise instead of despair. And in their righteousness, they will be like great oaks that the Lord has planted for his own glory. In the New King James Version, it says that he has given us a garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. Right? We live in a culture that's heavy. What does it say? There's brokenness. Anybody know some broken people? Right? Some people that are in mourning. Some people that are captive, that are in slavery to the rat race of life, right? And what is he saying? Put on the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. You see, our culture has a spirit of heaviness. And what God is looking for is some people that'll say, you know what? I know the solution. I know the source of good news. I know the person to go to, and his name is Jesus. A joyous blessing instead of mourning, right? See, we have the solution to the world's problems. We have the solution to the enemy who we have a real enemy, right? That wants to steal, kill, and destroy. And the first thing he wants to steal is your joy, right? Now, have you ever noticed maybe someone in your house or at work that people that have bad attitudes their attitude's kind of contagious? Anybody ever notice that? Right? Monday morning, you're in the middle of a meeting, and somebody is just negative, right? And all of a sudden, they become the most influential person in the room. Anybody tried to lead that meeting before on a staff meeting or whatever, and the negative person is just like steering the conversation in the wrong direction, right? Anyone notice that? Yeah. Or you won't go into a room and there's somebody that has a bad attitude, right? And research has shown that person is influential, but you know who's more influential? The person who has joy. The person who comes into the room saying, let's go, it's Monday. This is a great time. You know what, we have a challenge in front of us, but we can overcome that challenge, right? You as the leader, right? What do? As Christians, we set the tone. I always say that we're not the thermometers in the room, reading the room. We're the thermostats, changing the temperature of the room, right? That when people get around us on Mondays and Tuesdays and Wednesdays, or when there's a spirit of heaviness at home, guess what? We turn the temperature to a place of joy. We turn the temperature and we say, no, that is not my house. This place is a house of miracles, right? Anybody enjoy that song, House of Miracles, right? What I believe this song is doing even is it's speaking things into existence that are not there. You see, we look around us and we see negativity, but I serve a God that does miracles. Let me just tell you that joy is not an emotion, it's more of a choice, right? You know, we like to confuse joy with happiness, right? Happiness is that emotion. The Bible actually uses the word happy or happiness 10 times. Anybody want to guess how many times joy or rejoice is in the Bible? 430 times, right? So again, what is the Bible trying to say? It's not an emotion, it's rejoice. It's like a choice. It's like it's coming out, not out of I feel this. It's coming out of I choose this. I know the truth, right? When we speak and we pray over somebody, when we prophesy into somebody and we lay hands on them and we say joy, right? Sometimes we don't feel like joy is there, but we speak it into existence. I know all you skeptics in the room are having a problem with this. All you realists, Joanna likes to call them the realists, not the pessimists. The realists are like, but my life, you don't understand my life. It's heavy. No, let me just tell you that, yes, your life is heavy. My life is heavy. If you're in 2022, life is heavy. Let me just tell you. And maybe you're like, well, John, this message doesn't change the heaviness. This quote hit me hard this week. It says, it's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way that you're carrying it. It's not the load that breaks you down, it's the way that we're carrying it. Why? Because I think we kind of have this idea that we're going to pray and God's going to like take the load off of us, right? And he's just going to remove us from the hard things in life. And he's going to remove us from, you know, those who have kids, like you can't just say, see you later, you can stay with a babysitter all day. No, like there's heaviness, the responsibility, right? What does Jesus say? He says, come to me all who are heavy laden, and I will give you rest. But notice how he doesn't say the next part. He doesn't say, I'm going to take the load off of you. No, he says, I'll connect myself to you, and I'll help you carry it. And I'm going to walk next to you with it. I've been thinking about that a lot. That I may not be able to take the weight off, but guess what? I can change the way I'm carrying it. I can connect myself to Christ and say, you know what? I'm going to find rest because he's with me, and he's helping me carry it. And The Bible says his yoke is easy and his burden is light. Come on now, who needs to leave this room feeling light, right? And it's not a lightness saying problems are gone, right? No, they're still there, right? But it's I have someone walking with me through the problems. I know for us, we started the church 3 years ago, and I tell people this all the time. We started 7 weeks before COVID, and everybody's like, "Oh, poor you," right? And for let me just a little bit, I was discouraged, but then I started looking at 2020 as an opportunity where there is fear, where there is heaviness. Jesus has a chance to say, you know what? There's faith, right? You see, in the times of heaviness are actually the opportunities where we can show the solution, right? So in 2020, you know what we did? We started making church fun, right? We're going to have the bounce castles every Sunday. You know what? And people started coming to church going, you know what? Home is heavy. I need to get around some people, right? Let me just tell that joy is relational too, right? It says eat, drink, and have fun, right? You do that with people, by the way, not with just an ice cream by yourself, right? You do that with people, right? And in 2020, the last 2 years, in a season of heaviness, God has multiplied our church. Why? Because people are looking for joy. They're not looking for fear. They're looking for the people that will say, the world's not falling down. Jesus made it through. The church is unshakable. It's unbroken. It cannot be stopped, right? And part of that is because the joy cannot be stopped. How do we bring joy into everyday life? How do we bring joy into Monday morning? I can't wait to wake up, like joy, let's go. Maybe it's, you need that K-Love song. It's a good morning, right? No, anyway. I don't know if it's K-Love on your alarm clock. I shouldn't have said K-Love. Everybody's like, what? Anyway, we need to bring joy into Monday morning, right? All right, K-Love's great. All right, positive, encouraging. All right. Some of you pessimists can't stand that. Like, I need the doom and gloom song on Sunday. No, how do we bring joy into everyday life, right? Let me just say that, number one, if you're taking notes today, that joy is intentional. That we have to intentionally bring joy into our life. Then again, or if we follow the happiness feelings, that's not going to help us. We got to choose to intentionally bring joy into our life. Sometimes we stumble upon it when we're around somebody like Danny, right? Danny, you're just can't have, you're just around her and she's just like, this is awesome, right? It's like being around a Disney princess all the time. Let's go, let's have fun, right? But let me just tell you, that when you're not, what happens when you're not around Danny, right? Well, you got to intentionally choose joy. You got to intentionally have fun. How can we intentionally bring joy into your home or your workplace or your marriage? Again, some of the marriages in the room feel heavy. You guys need to go have fun together, right? You need to go spend some money on bowling and look like idiots or have fun together, right? Or do whatever, how many people like to bring fun into your marriage? Or you try, right? Dad jokes. Bring some dad jokes, right? Do something to bring some fun into your marriage, right? Paul and Silas, right when we started hitting COVID, I was feeling discouraged, right? When your businesses attract people and then they say don't attract people anymore, you get discouraged because you're like, God, what do I do next? I feel like God said, what did Paul and Silas do when they were put in jail? They started singing. They started worshiping. They didn't worship and sing because everything was going well. They were beaten for their faith. But they're saying, you know what? In the jail sentence, God is with me. Right? They started intentionally lifting up their voices, and the praise of God brought the freedom from the jail sentence. Some of us, the only way to get out of our jail is to intentionally bring joy and praise into our life. This week, we were in kind of a funk. Anybody ever been in that funk? It was like Wednesday, right? It's like, it's not the weekend yet, right? It was just felt heavy. It was just, oh my goodness, we have these things to do and these things to do and these things to do. And Joanna and I were just like, it just felt heavy. Anybody had that day, right? That night. And my son started getting on my phone and playing around with like different music and sending it to our little speaker, right? And then I thought about it. I was like, you know what? It's time for Justin Timberlake. It's time for Can't Stop the Feeling, right? It's time for the dance songs, right? Sometimes when you're in the middle of heaviness, what you need is that dance playlist to lighten the mood. And what did we start doing? We started dancing, and the kids just started laughing, and all of a sudden, Joanna, who's just like, she's Eeyore in the corner, right? I'm Tigger bouncing off the walls. I'm like, come on, Eeyore, get involved. And she started getting up, right? And we started having fun. Come on now. And let me just say, it broke the mood. It changed the trajectory of the week, right? Come on now, church. We got to have there's joy in the house of the Lord songs on repeats, right? Not just the, God, nothing else, I need you. Yes, we need Jesus, but let me just say that we already have him. There's joy in the house of the Lord. And where's the house of the Lord? It's not just on Sunday. It's at your house, right? Speak to your spirits and intentionally bring joy into your life. How many people are already smiling a little bit more? You feel better already. Come on now, right? What's happening? Let me just tell you that psychologically, your body loves joy. Joy brings healing. Everybody say healing. How many people have lost something in your life? A loved one, lost a job, lost an opportunity, lost something. You know, we can look and just think about regrets, or we can say, you know what, God, bring healing, right? And maybe you're in a season of grieving. Research has shown when you're in the season of grieving, you know what is one of the best things you can do? Laugh. Laugh. Right? And you're like, I don't feel like grieving. I'm supposed to be solemn. I'm supposed to be, yes, there's a place for tears. There's a place for getting on your knees and saying, God, help. But then there's a season where God's like, I'm giving you help. It's called have fun. It's called go eat a meal, right? A good meal, right? How many people know that food, like, just is healing, right? This summer, I was with a family, and they were going through a hard time. They had just received the diagnosis that this family's mother was about to pass away. That she was put on hospice and had 3 weeks to live, had brain cancer. The crazy part about it is that her body was still functioning fine. Her brain just wasn't there. But here's what happened. In that season, they invited Joanna and I to come into the hospice center, and I didn't know what to expect. I was going to walk in and feel like maybe I need to just give some encouraging words. And do you know what happened? We walked into that room, and we laughed for like an hour straight. This woman had this contagious joy about her. That she knew she only had a couple weeks to live, but she wasn't going to let that stop her from making funny jokes. And that wasn't going to stop her from saying, you know what, my time might be coming to an end. And we prayed for healing in that moment. But you know what? She already knew that the healing was coming. And that she already knew that her hope was in heaven. That her passport was marked heaven already. See, church, even for me, I walked out of that room going, man, I want to be like her. I want to have that contagious joy about me. I want to have that contagious heart to say, you know what? Yes, we're carrying heavy loads, but you know what? Our passports are still marked heaven. So we have no reason to let those things drag us down. 2018, Joanna and I had a particularly rough season. It was a good 6 months of everything in our life that was changing. How many people love change? No. How many people no, don't change anything on me, right? So we had several things happen in our life. We moved. We decided to stop having children, which we were like great at making babies. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, what else could I do in life, right? We're still practicing, but not anyway. So, come on now, I got to throw some fun in there. All right, so we were going through a season of mourning. Bring it back. We were sad. Joanna went into, like, really, it was depression that she was going through, and she was speaking to her spirit every day to get up, right? And we life doesn't stop in those seasons, though, right? Work is still coming. You know, your kids still have to be taken to school. We had all these things, and we didn't realize it, but God was changing things so that we could grab onto the next vision, which was the church. But in that season, it was right around this time of the year, November, December, January, we couldn't see the next step ahead. All we could see was that things were ending, right? Some of you might be thinking, yeah, John, you're making fun, but I can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. All I see is darkness. And for both of us, all we could feel was darkness in our house. And here's what we did. Joanna went over to Hobby Lobby, and she bought every kid's craft imaginable. And for like 3 weeks straight, you know what we did? We took time off work, and over Christmas break, we just had the best Christmas break of our life. We didn't watch movies. We were just hanging out as a family, eating good food. Come on now, right? Again, good food. Let's go. You got to have it, right? And we were just enjoying life. And you know what? The spirit of heaviness fell off of us in that moment. Why? Not because the situation changed, but because we chose to change our outlook. And we chose to bring joy. And we chose to be more intentional around the dinner table. Some of you just need to bring healing to your spirits by choosing joy. Nehemiah, he went through 52 days of rebuilding the walls of Jerusalem. Those walls were like 12 feet thick. So imagine a wall from here to here, that thick, right? And they were broken down walls, right? Nehemiah brought his people together and the misfits and all the people that were left in Jerusalem, and he brought a vision. He said, we're going to rebuild the walls in 52 days. We're going to do it fast. And here's what we're going to do. We're going to work 20 hours a day rebuilding the walls. And it was hard work, right? It says that they worked with a shovel in one hand or a pickaxe in one hand and then a sword in the other. Why? Because people didn't want those walls to go back up. Some of you might be in a rebuilding season, and the enemy is like, now is the time to attack. Right? Some of you are like, I'm trying to rebuild my life. Well, that's where the enemy is trying to make sure you don't get the walls back up, right? Because he just wants to keep coming in, right? So Nehemiah, finally, 52 days later, they rebuild the walls, and it was an incredible feat. And then they go to the Temple Mount that was destroyed, and they start making sacrifices. And everybody in the place is crying and mourning and reverent. Why? Because the Temple Mount is this reverent place, right? It's holy. But Nehemiah stops it in the middle of the time. He's like, stop crying, everybody. Right? Yeah. Here's what it says. It says, then Nehemiah the governor and Ezra the priest, the teacher of the law, and the Levites who were instructing the people, said to them all, this day is holy to the Lord your God. Do not mourn or weep. Look at your neighbor and say, do not mourn or weep. Like you're breaking the mood. We just worked our hearts out. What does he do? He says, for all the people had been weeping as they listened to the words of the law. What is the law? The law is that what we have to follow, right? They're like, we haven't been doing it. We're suffering, right? We need to change our life. And then he says, go and enjoy choice food and sweet drinks, and send some of those that have nothing prepared. This day is holy to the Lord. Do not grieve, for the joy of the Lord is your strength. So what does he do? He says, stop grieving. Stop being legalistic about this. Our God is the God, yes, of the law, but he's the God of joy. And he's the God that says, you know what? We just worked our hearts out. We're going to enjoy it, right? Come on now, church. Some of you have been working hard. What do you need? You need joy in your life, right? How many people work hard all week? Well, Sunday, Sabbath day is holy. Not holy just to be like, oh my gosh, my life, like Jesus, I need to be here and repent. No, it's like, no, my sins are taken away. Right? There's joy. It's healing to our spirits, right? What does he say? He says, this day is holy. That the day of fun is holy. Right? See, joy really is spiritual. right? What is holy? Holy is set apart. God says, don't skip the holy. Don't skip the fun. Jesus, what did he do after he created the earth 6 days? On the seventh day, he rested. He enjoyed it. He hung out with Adam and Eve and he said, this is fun, right? See, we got to have that spiritual moment of joy as well. In the hardest moments of your life, you need to remember that it's holy to have joy with Jesus. Again, the source of our joy is really Jesus. I put in your notes, joy equals Jesus. Not Jesus plus a full bank account. Not Jesus plus I'm a good person. Not Jesus plus I'm keeping the law, I'm keeping the rules. Not Jesus. Kids understand this. They're like, I screwed up, who cares? Let's have fun right now, right? Let's go. Let's be like children, right? It's not, we have Jesus, that's it. The end, mic drop. Nothing else. Nothing else. We don't need anything else, right? Let's go back to, I read from Isaiah 61. Jesus comes back, and right as he's introducing himself as the Messiah to people, right before he does that, before he begins his public ministry, he shows up to Nazareth, his hometown. He picks up the scroll, or in our case, he picked up like something like this, right? He goes to Isaiah 61. He says this. This is Luke 4. It says, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he anointed me to bring what? Good news. The gospel. In the New Testament now, the good news is the gospel to the poor. That he has sent me to proclaim freedom to the prisoners and recovery of sight to the blind, to set the oppressed free, to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor. Here's what he's doing. He's saying, exchange your oppression for freedom. Yeah, you might be poor, but guess what? You're full of the joy of the Lord, right? Right? Again, he doesn't change the situation with how poor they are physically. He says, you know what? You have me. You're not poor anymore, right? He says, yeah, you might be in captivity to the Romans, but guess what? Today is the day of freedom, right? Freedom. That's spiritual, not maybe not as physical as what they thought, right? They thought the Messiah was here to bring freedom from the Romans, and Jesus is like, nope. You have freedom no matter where you are, no matter which government has control over you. You have freedom, right? We like to celebrate freedom in America. Well, people that have freedom all over the world have freedom, right? Again, we have physical freedom here, but we have spiritual freedom, which is more important, right? It says that he rolled up the scroll, and he put it back to the attendant. He sat down, and the eyes of everyone in the synagogue were fastened on him. He began this to say, today, this prophecy has been fulfilled. He said, it's done. It's here. It's here, right? Come on now, church. We need some messengers of Jesus to bring the good news, to say that it's not Jesus plus something else. It's just Jesus, right? It's not a situation. Joy is not situational. It's having the presence of Jesus. Psalm 16:11 says, in your presence is what? The fullness of joy, right? Here in a second, we're gonna worship. We have the fullness of joy. Craig and I were talking about this. We love to celebrate when the Avs won the Stanley Cup, right? And people were like, oh my gosh, the Avs won the Stanley Cup. And we get excited about the Broncos even when they finally pulled out a win again. Praise the Lord. We're not losers anymore. But let me just say, we get excited about sports, but we don't get excited about Jesus on Sunday morning. Yeah, come on. I'm going to keep saying it over and over. Stop getting excited about sports and be more excited about Jesus, right? That we have the fullness of joy. Not a half full, but here on Sunday mornings, we're coming and we're filling up, and we're like, man, it is good. He is good. I need more. And it's like, I can't get enough. I can't get enough of Jesus. 3 things that I think we could do just practically on how to do this week. We need to make a weekly joy plan. We need to plan joy into our life. Again, if we're going to be intentional about it, we got to plan it. Right? Come on now. Those of you who you want to connect with your spouse, it doesn't just happen naturally. You have to make a plan. Right? You got to make a weekly joy plan to bring joy into your life. Maybe it's making a playlist together. Or maybe it's today, say, you know what, we're going to get out, we're going to have fun together, or whatever it is, right? We need to heal with laughter, with joy. Maybe some of you are in a season of grief, and God just like, find a way to laugh. Bring back some of those things that were fun back into your marriage. Maybe you've had brokenness go into your marriage and you need to bring healing into it. Or maybe there's a relationship in your life and there's some tension there and you just need to have fun together. That brings healing. Number 3, we need to praise him with joy. Again, it's not the garment of worship. It's the garment of praise. What is praise? It's not about me. Praise is saying, I'm going to throw up my hands, not because I feel like it, but I'm going to tell my body, I'm going to choose, and I'm going to say, I got a great God. Right? Right? What do? We throw up our hands not because we want to sometimes, because it's awkward. Let me just say, when we worship, when I put our hands up, it's kind of awkward, right? Nobody else? It shouldn't be awkward, right? But when we throw up our hands, what we're doing is we're telling our body, I'm going to praise the Lord. We're going to sing the song Gratitude today. And the song says, we're going to speak to our spirits. Come on, my soul. Come on, my soul. Don't get shy right now. But in this moment, don't make it about you. It's not about you. It's about him, right? He already came. The year of the Lord's favor is already here. Like, let's bring the joy today. Anybody ready to bring the joy today? Right? Let's just have a moment real quick where God can speak to us. Maybe he's going to highlight something you can do to make a plan right now on how to bring more joy. Maybe you're in a room and you need healing. I just want to pause right now before we go any further. Maybe there are folks in the room today that maybe you've gone through something hard recently. Let me just say that our community, this community, just a couple miles down the street had 4 teenagers that tragically passed away this week. Maybe you've been affected by that. I'm not here to belittle that situation, but I'm here to say, you know what? We're not hopeless. We have joy, not because of the situation, but because we have the fullness of Jesus inside of us. Maybe for some of us, you're going through maybe disappointment in your life. Maybe you're going through heartache. Maybe you're going through just heaviness. Anybody in the room feeling heavy? And maybe you just need to put your hand up to, not to me, but to Jesus. Say, Jesus, I'm feeling heavy. Lord, right now I pray that there would be a great exchange, heaviness for joy today. That as we surrender, as we throw up our hands in worship in just a minute, Lord, that you would come in and help us to understand the power of the gospel. The power of the gospel that it's finished. That we can nail our heaviness to the cross. That we can nail our stress to the cross. Maybe for some of you just need healing today. And Jesus would say, I'm the great healer. Ready to embrace you. Ready to laugh with you. Ready to cry with you. Ready to say, you know what? It's not hopeless. I got you. It's not hopeless. Surrender your hopelessness right now and exchange it for faith. Maybe for somebody in the room, you would say, you know what, John, I've come to church before and it felt religious and it felt like, man, it just felt stuffy or whatever it is. But today I feel something different. I feel the tug of Jesus saying, I need Jesus. Maybe for some of you, you don't need a church. You don't need a to-do list. You don't need a list on how to clean yourself up. No, you just need to surrender today and say, I need Jesus. If that's you in the room and you know who you are and you never said that before, or maybe you just feel him tugging you right now, say, I need Jesus. Would you raise your hand? I want to pray for you. John, I need Jesus. I need his presence right now. I need to get right with him. I need to surrender. Yeah. Let's do this right now. If you could actually, there was a couple people that raised their hands today, maybe somebody online that raised their hand today. I want to invite all of us right now, just stand up. And in just a minute, we're gonna sing the song. So I throw up my hands and I praise you again and again. I just felt led right now. If you feel led, I'm not gonna tell you have to do this, but right now I just want to lead us through a prayer of surrender, of praise, just by putting our hands in the air right now. Jesus, right now, we don't raise our hands because we raise our hands because we're surrendering to you. We're exchanging our heaviness with joy. Right now, would you just repeat this prayer after me? Say, Jesus, I love you. I surrender to you. I exchange my heaviness for joy. You died for me. You rose from the grave so that I could be free. I choose to follow you all the days of my life.